Hi everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. So this video is going to be a little bit different, but I'm hoping it's going to really help you consider some options once you've used your paints to create a painting. It dries and then you kind of think, shall I embellish it? Shall I add something to it? Or in one case, I've scratched the painting and I'm thinking, can I fix it or shall I do something different? So that's exactly what this video is going to do today. I hope you'll join me. I've got 4 paintings. They're all laid out in front of me. I don't know if you can see any of them. This is one of the paintings, so a fairly small canvas. This one is a 20 by 20 inch canvas. This is kind of a size that I use quite a lot. This is the one that I've scratched right down the edge. I really love the design. I really love this design. I don't want to paint over it, but I'm thinking of adding to it to fix the scratch. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you down onto my table so you can see the paintings that I'm going to repurpose or embellish. I'm gonna have some surprises up my sleeve as well. I want you to enjoy this process, but I also want you to know that just because we've created something and we've finished with it, before varnishing it, you might want to add a little bit extra to it, or you might want to completely change it without having to paint completely over the canvas. So I've got 4 paintings. I'm going to show you them now, and then I'm going to talk about some of the techniques I'm going to use to embellish or redesign. I'm excited for this. I've not done this on video ever, I think. So let's see what we can create. Okay, so this is the painting that I created. As you can see, it was a split base. I used an embroidery hoop in the middle and swiped out from the middle and created this really nice creation. And I am happy with it, but I feel like I can just do a little bit more with it. So I'm going to embellish this one today. I think I'm going to start off in the middle and straighten that black line. So I want a really straight line on the horizon in that middle. And then I feel like I could improve some of these edges. So all the way around this one, I'm going to do something a little bit different. So with that in mind, I will talk about what I'm going to do on each creation. So this is the first one that I'm going to work on. What do you think I'm going to do? Drop your guesses in the comments before I show you, and let's see if you're right. So let me take you on to the next one. Okay, so here's the next painting. I really did like this. I loved the colour palette that I was working with, and I really love those hints of those brighter blues that you can see there. And this was originally a marble pour. So puddled some paints on the canvas, threw a marble into those puddles and tilted to get these lines. But I'm kind of thinking I'd like to really brighten this up and really focus in on the middle section. I feel like it's a bit uninteresting here, a bit dull. So I've got a trick up my sleeve. I'm going to try and embellish this one and just see how it goes. So that's one of the other paintings that I'm going to enhance. Now this one was a multi-technique creation. So there was some swiping involved, there was some balloon dips involved. So I really do like the overall design, but I think it's a little bit too busy. I would have loved some more negative space. So there's that black right in the middle, and as you can see, the balloon dips have dried beautifully and created some interesting patterns. And they've got some lovely patterns just here. But there are elements of this that I feel could be tidied up or maybe even made into blank space again. So negative space. I'm going to concentrate on the patterns that are already there, but also add in a little bit more negative space. So this one's going to transform, and this is going to prove sometimes less is more. Let's see if I can create something with this. But I'm excited to see how this one evolves. I definitely want to tidy up some of those edges. I'm not a fan of that little bit there. So yeah, this is the next painting that I'm going to enhance. Now finally, this one, I didn't really want to change anything. However, let me take you in. I put this in the box, and can you see that black line all the way on that edge? You can see it quite clearly just there. You can definitely see it there, but that black line goes from that corner all the way down the side. It goes over the top of the colours and kind of ends just there. So that's the section there that I really need to fix, but I can't fix it by adding a little bit more colour on top. It just wouldn't look right. So I'm going to change this one up completely, but I'm not going to paint over it. I'm going to keep mainly all of this. I really want to keep all of this. I love this bit here. I really love that bit there. So I'm going to do something around the edge of this one. So I'm still going to have the main focus as the pattern here. So you can see all this here. This will remain, but I need to cover up this black line. Luckily, it's not scratched into the canvas and damaged the canvas. So I just need to enhance it a little bit. So this is the final one that I'm going to do. So not going to change too much, but I'm just going to add that little extra around the edges. So I've now run through the 4 paintings that I'm going to either enhance or embellish, and I'm going to start with the larger one. So this one just here. I'm going to straighten up the line in the middle. So let's start with that. And then I'm going to do something around the edges. Now, it could not work, but unless we give it a go and learn as we go, we're not going to know if it's going to turn out how we expect it to. But also just try and allow yourself to just let go of any kind of intentions or expectations, mainly, because sometimes when we're in that creation process, in that creativity, those creativity juices are flowing, sometimes it takes us to a point where we didn't know was possible. So keep an open mind as you're doing this. I know I'm going to. So let's get on with the first one. So I'm just going to take some tape. This is green frog tape, and I'm just placing it in the middle there just so it gives me a bit of a guide where I can place the black paint to make it a straight line. So I'm just firmly pressing the tape onto the canvas. I'm using Lamp Black by Amsterdam. That's my go-to black when I'm using the black paint. And I'm literally just going to put the paintbrush in the paint and then paint along that line just here. I'm not applying too much pressure, but I just want enough to ensure that it has a clean line at the end. So I'm just placing my paintbrush on the canvas and just painting along that edge. And then when I remove that tape, I'm hoping there's more of a crisp line. So I'm going to remove the tape now, and I'm just slowly pulling the tape towards me. And then I will dispose of that tape. I can't reuse it. And there we go, there's the line. That's a lot better than before, and that's what I really intended to do. But this next part of the process, I said I really wanted to do something different around the edges. So I've got a tin of white paint and a tin of black paint. So what I've decided to do, the black side that you can see here that I'm working on now, I'm going to use the white paint. It's a spray paint, and I'm just randomly spraying those edges. And I'm standing a fair distance away. I do have my safety mask on. But what I'm trying to do is not only create like a white edge along this black background, but I'm wanting to create some shadows. And as I spray, you can see as that spray hits the canvas, it expands slightly on that background as well. So I don't just have a block edge of white paint, but that's kind of spraying and fanning out across all that other colour. So I'm just going to go along the edges, and then I'm going to turn the canvas round and then focus on using the black paint. But I just want enough contrast to be able to show the depth to this piece. So I've turned my canvas around, and now I'm using my black tin of paint to spray the edges on the white side. I know that sounds quite confusing, but what I really wanted to do was, this was originally a split based canvas. So 2 colours on the base of the canvas, black and white. and I wanted to switch it up a little bit and basically use the black paint on the white side and the white paint on the black side. Again, that just gives a bit of depth, a bit of contrast, and I think it has really changed the way this painting looks. I wasn't unhappy with it at all. I actually really liked it, but I just wanted to prove that we could make a few enhancements and embellish it further to create this. So let me take you in now so you can see a closer look at this creation. We didn't change anything other than the middle. We created a crisper line in the middle, and then we used the spray paint around the edges to create those shadows and to create extra depth. This is probably one of my favourites that I've embellished recently, but let's move on to the next one and we can decide as we go along which one is our favourite. But before we do that, let me just show you a different angle to this creation. So you can see there how that white and that black around those edges and enhancing that line in the middle, making it more crisp, more straight, has really changed this creation. So I'm really happy with this one. I'm going to continue now with the other three and use a slightly different technique each time. So with this one, I literally want to use this embroidery hoop and I have a silver acrylic pen. And what I'm thinking is I might just add a circle into this design. So the original design, I was using puddles of paint and a marble to create the lines. But I'm thinking that if I add another element and another shape to this, it's going to really change the perspective and the composition. So I am placing the embroidery hoop on the canvas. I think I'm just going to go for it. I don't usually do a lot of freehand stuff, but I'm going to just go with it. I'm going to go with my gut feeling. So I'm pressing down quite firmly on the embroidery hoop whilst I use the pen and draw an outline on the outer edge of that embroidery hoop. I want to keep it quite still and I don't really want the hoop to move. So that's why I'm applying that pressure. And I'm just taking the pen and I'm going around the outer edge and just drawing a line around the embroidery hoop. So you can see here that I've got an outline. Now what I want to do now is I'm just going to use that pen and I'm just going to make that line a little bit more prominent. And I'm going to add a little bit more depth to that ring. So I'm just going to make it slightly bigger. And I want the paint to look like it's kind of weaving in and out of that circle. So I'm not going to do a full circle, but I am adding a circle so it appears like it's completely behind that paint that's swooshing forward from the outset. So I'm just going to go over the line with the pen. And it's really important just to take your time. If you can see my face, you will see that I've got deep concentration, but it's also, I'm just allowing myself to be in that present moment, in that here and now. And I'm just trusting my intuition. I'm just trusting my creativity. And as I go around this ring, I do turn the canvas each time. It's just more comfortable for me to do. And it also ensures that I have more of a steady hand when I'm just adding a little bit more depth to that line. So again, I'm not pressing down too hard enough so that paint comes out of the pen, but enough so I can increase that line around that hoop. If you've been watching me for a while, you'll know that I love to use the embroidery hoops as a guide, but that's mainly within fluid art. So I've never really used it before to help me with an outline shape of that circle. But it's given me some more ideas and I think I'm going to bank those ideas for future creations and use that embroidery hoop in a different way. So I'm happy with this one. I think it gives a different dimension. I think it adds a little bit more interest to this creation. So I've gone around the hoop, I've coloured in that line, and this is the end result. That hoop is in the background whilst those swishes of paint are in front of that hoop. So yeah, I'm happy with this one and I'm pleased I've used the silver. I nearly used the gold, but I just thought the silver would go more with this colour palette that I used originally. And those blues really help that silver kind of pop as well. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how we've embellished this one. So we've done the spray paint, we've used the pen, and now onto this next creation. And this is really about enhancing it with the negative space. So as you'll see in the middle of this creation, I've got more of like the dark black paint. And there are some areas of this painting that I wasn't too happy with. Don't get me wrong, it was fine, but I do feel that I wanted to add a little bit more black paint to this. So there's more sections that almost appear as the negative space. And I'm doing that because I really wanted to kind of home in on what we would call the composition. This is the balance of a painting and the balance of this piece. So all I'm doing is I'm using a paintbrush and I'm using my lamp black paint. Lamp black was one of the paint colours that I used in the original creation. So for continuity, I wanted to use the same tone of black to add in that negative space. And as you'll see, as I'm doing that, I'm just using my paintbrush and I'm just colouring in some of those sections. I'm really mindful that I wanted this to be balanced. So I'm not doing too much, but I'm doing enough, but again on each side. So as I'm doing it, I'm not rushing this process. I do step back and have a look at the overall piece because I think it's really important that you just take your time and have a real good look at the design. And it's about really enhancing those cells and those patterns that were already there. So it isn't just about drawing some black lines or having some areas that have more black in it. I will paint my sides. I don't think I have said that before, but when I've tilted this canvas previously, there's obviously the paint that's gone down the edges. And I really want more of a block black colour on the sides because I think that's going to really help with the focus of the eye with the negative space on the surface area of the canvas. So again, I'm just going section by section, adding in some more black areas. And as you can see, I'm not doing too much, but I think I'm doing enough to ensure that I've reached my goal of having that balance and having that composition. So I'm just going to continue just adding a little bit more of those black lines, colouring in some of those areas, but also going to some of those edges. I did mention right at the beginning that there were some edges that I wasn't keen on, so I am just adding a little bit more black to some of those areas as well. So as I come to the end of this one, I'm just touching up some more of those lines because as I've stepped back, I've seen that that balance is off with this painting. So I'm just going from the middle to the outer edge, and this is the final look at this one. I'm going to go in now so we can see some of that detail. You can see that I've painted those edges, and I think I've added just enough. It has changed the feeling of it. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this one, but I think I've done enough with this one. So on to the final one, and if you remember right at the beginning, I said that I had placed this painting in a box, and whilst I was doing it, I actually scratched the painting and there was a black mark down the edge. So I've got to be honest with you, I sat here for a long time thinking about what I could do because I actually really love this painting and I didn't want to change too much about it. So I'm kind of giving it a border, but only down two sides. Of course, I want to cover up the side that has that black mark on, but to balance it, I'm going to just do one other side. So rather than creating like a frame around the painting, I'm just going to do two gold sections on two sides. So I've taken my frog tape and I've masked off both sides. I think they're equal, but if they're not, don't worry about it. I am then literally going to use the paint from the tub, and this is that special 24 karat gold. I think it deserved a special gold paint because actually I really love this painting overall. So I'm literally taking that gold paint, using my paintbrush and colouring in those sections. I just do a couple of coats and make sure that before I do one coat after another, it's fully dry. I don't want any cracking at all. And I'm also going to do the edges so it matches the sections that you see on top. So I'm really pleased with this decision. I don't think it needed that much, but it's enough to change the perspective of this painting whilst keeping that really great detail in the middle. That middle section, I just love that, and I didn't want to mess with that at all. But by adding 2 gold edges rather than a full 4-edge frame, I think really sets this piece off. So I'm just going to remove the tape now. I'm just going to slowly pull that tape back towards me, and that reveals that crisp edge along the side where I've painted it with that 24 karat gold. So that's the first one off. I'm now going to take the second one off. Again, just pulling that tape towards me, just slowly and gently, ensuring that those lines are crisp and don't smudge. There we go. I'm so happy with this. It hasn't changed it that much, but it has ensured that that black mark is no longer there. And I think it was the right decision to only have 2 sides done with that 24 karat gold. I'm going to do those edges. I need to go down those edges, down those sides one more time to ensure that there's good coverage. But overall, I'm really happy with this one. Let me know what you think in the comments below about this one and the other ones that we've done. So there we go. We've transformed 4 paintings. You've seen each of them in turn. I think this one's my favourite one. I love the black and the white split base and how I flipped it so it almost kind of mirrors each side. So this is probably my favourite. Which one's your favourite? Let me know in the comments below. And I hope it's also giving you some ideas yourself how you can maybe change some of the paintings you've already got into something completely different without having to scrape a canvas or paint over a canvas and do something totally new. It just proves that we can enhance our paintings, embellish them a little bit, and it's a completely new and fresh design. I hope you've had so much fun today. I'm so pleased that you joined me. Thank you so much for all of your support. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I really hope I get to see you again in the next video. Take care, have a great week everyone, and whatever you're up to creatively, I hope it's going well. See you soon. Bye.